We are currently exploring normalizing relations with Syria's new government, as you know, beginning with my meeting with President Ahmed al-Shara. I am also ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria to give them a fresh start. It gives them a chance for greatness. The sanctions were really crippling, very powerful.
So that's a major policy shift in the Middle East. President Trump meets with Syria's new president in Saudi Arabia earlier this morning, and this comes a day after Trump pledged to lift all sanctions against Syria. Joining us now is New York Post contributor Douglas Murray. He's got a best-selling book out, and we're glad to have you here. I just want to play one more thing from President Trump receiving a standing ovation after making that announcement.
I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness. So I say good luck, Syria. Show us something very special.
Douglas, you know the region well. Can Syria turn over a new leaf? Is this step one on a new adventure for them?
Well, it's an amazing opportunity for Syria, but of course it's one that's going to have to be watched incredibly closely. The sanctions that were in place, US-led sanctions, didn't just exist under the now deposed Bashar al-Assad, but under his father, Hafez al-Assad, the previous dictator of Syria. So these sanctions had existed all of our lives. However, it's clear that Trump is asking, as it were, a quid pro quo from the new regime in Syria. I don't think anyone should be under the illusion that President al-Shara is some kind of moderate, or at least not of the kind we know. He's a former jihadist himself, former member of a jihadist militia group. But President Trump is saying we're going to give them a chance under this new regime. And we'll see. There are an enormous number of tests. Can they normalize relations with Israel? That's one of the longest stretches, but maybe it's possible. There are shorter-term ones, like will they stop Hezbollah and other terrorist groups using their country as places from which they can arm other Iranian Revolutionary Government proxies in the region? And again, we'll see. If they can do those sorts of things in the short term, then there's a lot of gains for Syria. But there's an awful lot of trust that needs to be built up first.
There's a lot of that happening across the region. Another piece of the puzzle is that President Trump, one of his crowning achievements of his first term was the Abraham Accords and getting people to come to some sort of agreement at the table. Here's the countries that were a part of that for Arab-Israeli diplomacy: Israel, UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, and Sudan. Yesterday, President Trump called on Saudi Arabia to join them as well. Listen here.
It's been an amazing thing, the Abraham Accords, and it's my fervent hope, wish, and even my dream that Saudi Arabia, a place I have such respect for, especially over the last fairly short period of time, what you've been able to do, but will soon be joining the Abraham Accords. I think it'll be a tremendous tribute to your country, and it will be something that's really going to be very important for the future of the Middle East.
How hopeful do you feel about this possibility of a broader and stronger Abraham Accord?
Well, you know, the Abraham Accords are one of the most remarkable diplomatic successes of our lifetimes. The signing of that normalization agreement between Arab countries and Israel was an extraordinary success, led by Jared Kushner and President Trump. Of course, if it had been any other president, by the way, as President Trump has often said himself, he would have got the Nobel Peace Prize for that. But never mind, he didn't. It was always the aim that Saudi Arabia would be one of the next countries, if not the next country, to come on. President Biden, in his time in office, had such a loathing of President Trump's diplomatic successes that he didn't add Saudi Arabia to the Accords, even if he could have done. He didn't try. And so, yes, this was always one of the early aspirations of the second Trump term. If Saudi Arabia can join the Accords or get an Abraham Accords plus of their own, this would be an enormous step for Saudi Arabia as well as the region. And there are two things, really, that it signals. One is that countries like Saudi Arabia recognize that the state of Israel, after almost 80 years in its modern incarnation, is not going anywhere. It's here to stay. It's part of the region, and everyone should try to learn from each other. The second thing, of course, is it highlights the fact that the odd man out in the region is the terrorist-sponsoring country of Iran, and they will be more and more isolated the more countries join these accords.
Indeed. Douglas Murray, thank you so much. You're joining us from London, and we appreciate that today. Thank you.
Great pleasure. Thank you.
So back.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.